Am I expecting reconciliation between me and my friend too quickly? Hi. So, I have a friend, named Mara. Mara and I were friends since the start of college. We are now both 24. Mara and I went through the normal ups and downs of any friendship, but overall we were good throughout college. We even lived together sophomore year. After graduation, I spent a year working as a server in my hometown while Mara went straight into her career in a city. Eventually, I moved to that city when I got a job there, partially inspired because she and several other friends live there. I moved there last October. We tried to make plans to hang out but kept missing each other. Eventually she and her roommate, Winnie, invited me to their night party. I wanted to go, but knew I had friends coming into town, and asked Mara if I could bring them. It was 4 friends, all people she'd met before. She said she was good with this. The night of, one of the friends who I told her I was bringing, George, sprung on me that he had 3 friends in town who wanted to tag along. I texted Mara asking if they could come. She said their apartment was already going to be very full, and her words specifically were, "I would like to say yes, but this isn't someone I know." I understood that, and told my friend. However, he kept pressing me asking if I could ask her again since his friends had nowhere to go, and because she hadn't explicitly told me no. So about an hour later I called Mara and asked her. This time on the phone, she said, "Oh okay, I guess, sure." I didn't think much of it. At the party, I will admit we did not do enough to act hospitably and thank them for hosting us, i.e. bringing extra drinks. Later in the night, one of the friends of my friends, who I already knew, but Mara'd never met, named Jake, threw up. I did not see it happen, but allegedly he threw up on my friend's roommate Winnie and in the kitchen and did nothing to help. 2 other people, not from our group, ended up throwing up in the living areas of the house as well. We end up leaving around 1 a.m. A few days later, Mara texts me asking for Jake's phone number. She had to hire a professional cleaning service to get everything taken care of. Obviously, I did not know things were that bad and I am mortified. I provide the phone number of Jake, I apologize profusely and say she never has to see him again, and I offer to reimburse her for the cleaning service. She tells me not to worry about that, but that she appreciates the apology. Over the next couple months, I try to make plans with her. She is responsive at first, but always cancels last Kyobira. Eventually, around March, she goes radio silent when I text her. I text her several times about different plans, and then eventually ask if she's okay, because although we're bad texters, when she went on without texting back for so long I am worried. Eventually, she finally writes back. This is now the end of April, 1.5 months after she dropped off texting. She sends me a long text telling me she is still upset about New Year's, as well as other incidents she never revealed to me. The first was when I tried to host a party with my friends at her house before I had a permanent residence in the city. I get how that sounds really bad, but I wanted to use the party to introduce her to a friend of mine I thought she'd really hit it off with romantically, and I didn't want to spook her before the event because she tends to get anxious and overthink about dating. But I get why that looked bad. The other thing was last July I also missed her birthday brunch when I overslept, but when I apologized then she told me everything was okay and to not worry about it because it happens to everyone. That felt more unfair for her to bring up since she had told me everything was good, so I felt blindsided that she was still holding on to that. Because of all these incidents, she tells me she needs time to process everything and would get back to me when she's ready. She was also starting a new job at the same time and attending her younger brother's college graduation. I said yes, I understand, I'd love to talk things over when you're ready. It's now been 3.5 months since then. I wished her happy birthday, nothing. I invited her to something, at my place, nothing. I understand her being upset, but I also think us talking about things instead of letting them stew would be so much better. I also feel like being mad about the Nye thing for 8 months is excessive, but then again, that could just be my view and maybe Reddit thinks differently. Same with still being mad about the other 2 things which were from over a year ago. I should not have encroached on her hospitality at Nye and pressed her twice about more people coming, but at the same time I wish she understood I was facing pressure from the people I was with myself, especially to ask her more than once. A mutual friend of ours, Leanne, told me Mara felt like she had to say yes to me and I should have known that she didn't really want them there, but I think that's unfair and I should be able to take her words at face value, especially since her first response wasn't a definite no, but her second response she said okay. If there had been a completely committed response of no right away I could have offered that as an end to my friends visiting, but it wasn't and thus they kept asking me. Plus, I hate to bring up bygones that are bygones but this whole situation has made me think of things Mara has done in the past that I forgave her for / didn't hold against her for more than a couple days, but meanwhile this has been drawn out so long. Sophomore year she puked in the radiator of our dorm room and it smelled like throw up in there for weeks since she didn't clean it out sufficiently. Again, I wasn't super mad at the time but now I'm feeling like it's unfair that she's holding a grudge for the scenario when I forgave her for similar things easily. Do you think this amount of time is a rational amount for her to be upset, or do you think it's overboard? I have talked to my own family and friends about this and they are more on my side but that could just be because they are talking to me. Also, do you have any advice on what to do to fix the scenario? I really value Mara as a friend and I miss her a lot. She is kind, funny, intelligent and I really liked having her in my life and doing things with her. I want to know if you all think she really just needs more time, or is this her polite way of ghosting me and ending the friendship? Comment. So, if they were being pushy, that was all the more reason to be firm that your friend who is not their friend and does not know them already said no to letting them into her home, and they needed to drop it. It's not at all surprising they proved absolutely terrible guests given how little respect they demonstrated for Mara in arguing their entitlement to be there in the first place, and you shouldn't have made your discomfort with having to set boundaries with them her problem, especially when she seems to struggle with being assertive herself. Frankly, I do think the fact you're still unwilling to take full responsibility for this incident is reason enough for Mara to still be mad at you. But when it's part of a bigger pattern of you taking her time and space for granted, yeah, odds are she's just done. You can try apologizing without excuses or talk of what you think she owes you, assuming you figure out exactly what you need to be apologizing for, but it may well be too little too late. The reason Mara brought up these past incidents is because they reveal a pattern of you acting self-absorbed and clueless. It sounds like she just doesn't want to be friends anymore, which I can't really blame her for. Take this as a lesson to be more aware of how you come off and how your actions affect the people around you. Some good comments here already, but one thing that's coming through for me is that you're still acting like you're in college, but it seems like she has moved on. You missed her birthday because you overslept. You tried to use her place to host a party. When she did invite you to a party, you invited more friends. Then invited even more after that even though it was clear she wasn't cool with it, and you knew that, otherwise it wouldn't have taken someone else pressuring you to ask again. And then one of those friends barfs all over someone. It sounds like she's just done with that kind of stuff. Yes, she puked on your radiator, but she was probably 19 years old when that happened. You're getting to the age where some people start to mature and move on from the kind of antics that were typical in college. She's on one side of that divide and you're on the other. It doesn't necessarily make you a bad person, but it may be that this friendship has run its course. Next, sorry too. I just helped paid for my boyfriend's car. He crashed it in 2 months. Do I lend him money again to fix it? I had an abusive childhood and sacrificed my social life and youth to make sure I'm financially stable. I've left home at 17 and have been working since. Although I have more than most my age, all it takes is a few big expenses to get me back to zero. I admit I have an unhealthy relationship with money, because to me it's a way of obtaining the power and security I need to protect myself against malicious people and unfavorable situations. My family was wealthy, but I've cut them off and they will never help me, and I will never ask them. Everything I've had I did myself. I am in the process of seeking therapy to address this, but I will always value being financially secure. My boyfriend of nearly 4 years is a wonderful partner. He's always supported me, and we have our disagreements but ultimately love each other and see a future with each other. He is a civil engineer with 2 years. We recently purchased a second-hand car for $20,000 in July with cash. I paid for $2,800. He crashed his car a few days ago, and I'm just happy he's alive. However, he expects me to lend him money because I have more than him. He does not want to pay for comprehensive, and he also crashed once last year. I told him, "How can you expect me to lend you money when you're a high risk of getting into another car crash, and you're not taking any steps to assure me as the lender by looking into comprehensive insurance?" If he does, I would be willing to pay a quarter of it, which I feel is reasonable. He is stressed these days because of added expenses due to injuring his back and obviously from just purchasing a car. He feels that he can never save due to current circumstances. He has similar financial goals to me and is working to achieve it. There is no question about our compatibility in this regard. I'm not sure how much the quote for the crash repair will be, but if he considered comprehensive, I will be willing to contribute despite how much I don't want to. We're not married, and for so long I've been managing my finances fine, but my partner's expenses are affecting me and I'm expected to chip in, which I don't feel comfortable with. Yet if I don't, I'm the bad guy that's stuck up. I've told him you're not entitled to my money. Despite this, I want him to trust me and come to me during financial distress so he's not alone. I want us to be comfortable discussing money despite some disagreements. I'm investing in him as a partner, and for this reason I will likely help him out. However, my investments are performing very poorly and my emergency fund has already been dipped into. What do I do? Comment. Nope. Considering his history of crashing, which I presume were his fault, there's no way I'd be spending any money on a car for him. If wants a car, he needs to pay for it all himself, and if he does, I still wouldn't get into that car as a passenger with him as a driver. If you're really feeling generous, buy him a really nice bicycle. Are you sure you're on the same level? Can't save but has to get talked out of a $50,000 new car? Also, expecting you to pay for something like this because you have more would concern me. As you mentioned, having more came with sacrifices. Not opposed to splitting things if that is the situation, agreed, but the way you phrased some stuff makes me think it isn't that simple for your relationship. I'd be ashamed to ask a partner for money for this personally. If you are committed, and plan to stay that way, I don't think it's unfair to split stuff. Obviously not legally required, but if you made the decision to have a future already, it's just a piece of paper, that's the difference. You need to communicate until you agree or it'll only avalanche. And buy the damned insurance. No sympathy if you are now 2 for 2 uninsured. If you already had your own car, I don't even think you should have paid the $2,800 for his car, since he should have easily been able to get a loan for that amount, so I definitely don't think you should lend him the money to get it repaired. If he had another $30,000 that he was willing to spend on a new car, he can figure out how to pay for his own repairs. Oh, and don't feel bad about your attitude about money. You worked hard to get what you have and know how hard that was. Don't let him jeopardize what financial security you do have.